will today feature in your diary as one of the days to look out for? Is it going to star red in your diary, blue, yellow, white?
Well, it's obviously a momentous day. There's no two ways about that. And I think the observation you've made, for me, is very apt, which is that this is true Ghanaian democracy at work. And I think the Ghanaian people and all of us, particularly the political actors, you see it in that light, which is that the instruments of democracy have been tested and have been contended upon, and so on and so forth. And on the floor of Parliament, the contentions have been heated. That is what democracy ought to be. As you know, in the House of Commons, Brexit, the hard Brexit, soft Brexit, all of the issues that came up under Prime Minister Theresa May through even to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and the debates which took place, rejection, not rejected, and so on and so forth. It all goes to enrich the democracy of our country. I mean, the bit of it that I'm personally not particularly comfortable with is when matters degenerate into rowdiness and the House becomes a bit ungovernable. I understand that in any democracy, Parliament, sometimes even Asian Parliament, they throw chairs at each other and so on and so forth. So a bit of, as we say in Ghana, a bit of togbe is allowed. Mm-hmm. But when it gets out of hand, it becomes a problem. So if you ask me what is this day, the day is a momentous one, it's a historic one. Very landmark decisions have been taken by the Parliament of Ghana today. We took very important decisions, and that is how I see it.
What happened on Friday? Let's start from Friday then as we begin the narration. What happened on Friday?
On Friday, we began the sitting with processes leading to the approval or otherwise of the economic policy and statement of the government. It's moved on to the minority leader, rounding up the submission or the position of the minority. And as you know, before, the majority leader has requested that the Minister for Finance be given an opportunity to wind up the debate and make a prayer, which the Speaker took the view that the minority's position be stated first. And therefore, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu had opportunity to conclude and state the minority's position. Mm-hmm. Thereafter, the majority leader concluded the debate of the majority. And then the prayer came in. When the prayer...
What does that mean, prayer? You're confusing
well,
us.
The
prayer is church.
an application. I mean, making a request in layman's language. Making a request to the House for the Minister of Finance to be given an opportunity to engage with the leadership of the House in view of the controversy which had arisen. His view was that his 5 previous parliaments had passed with consensus, and he will desire that this 6th one will also pass with consensus, a bipartisan consensus. And to the extent that that bipartisan consensus seemed not to be working out, he will pray to the House to give him an opportunity to continue with further engagement. That application was opposed by the minority. It was put to a vote, a voice vote, and the Speaker determined that the nay had it. The Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Afenyo Makin, rose on his feet and challenged the determination of the Speaker and requested for a division.
Okay, hold on, let's understand this. So, Finance Minister says, I would prefer that this goes by consensus, as my previous budgets did. Mr. Speaker, can you give me more time, which would have meant an adjournment of the process?
Yes.
Can you give me more time to engage with both the majority and minority to further explain to them what I want to do? Let's judge and achieve consensus before we come. And this was opposed by minority. They don't want further consultation.
Exactly.
Is that what it will mean?
But that's what it meant.
They didn't want further consultation.
That is exactly what it meant.
They wanted to vote now.
Yes, even the Speaker made a point that the consultations ought to have been done long ago. But as a matter of fact, the Finance Minister thought otherwise, that look, given that the minority had tabled some demands and insisting on some concessions from the government, he felt that it will be important to give an opportunity for an engagement with the leadership of Parliament, hopefully with a view of coming to some understanding so he can get this bipartisan consensual support for the budget. That was turned down. So a division was taken, and then in the course of the division, the Speaker asked that all ministers walk out, and the finance minister should walk out, and that if he did not walk out, he will unleash the marshals on him to throw him out of Parliament. It was at that point that the Member of Parliament from Price, my very good friend, courageous chap, very forthright, outspoken, bold, frontal man, stood up and said the General Secretary of the NDC was also in the chamber, and therefore in the public gallery. So he also should exit. It degenerated into some level of chaos, if you want. And then the majority walked out, and the Speaker went ahead and determined the division of 137 to 0, and further proceeded to put the vote in respect of the motion for the approval of the budget of the government, which voice vote obviously was a nay, and then he declared the budget rejected. So that's exactly what happened on Friday. In summary.
Why have we heard that is illegal?
Well, Paul, if that is seriously, if I may, I think that at this stage it's important for me to point out that in a democracy, consensus is important. Negotiations, carrying people along is so important. And I think that we have not lost that opportunity yet. Today, the majority and the minority leadership were locked in almost a 3-4 hour period of negotiation. Unfortunately, it didn't yield the results that we all desired. So I still believe that there's a good lot of opportunity out there for us to continue to engage. There's no two ways about that. And in the nature of this parliament, and in all parliaments, it should be the case. The need for engagement and consensus is absolutely imperative. But even before I go there, let me point out that I heard your commentary. What took place today was not a recession. No, it was not a recession. Today, it was an application or a motion moved pursuant to Order 50 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. And if you will permit me, I'll read Order 50, and I quote. Order 51 says, at the time appointed for the purpose under Order 53, Order of Business, any member may, with the prior approval of Mr. Speaker, move a motion on a specific matter of urgent public importance, end quote. This is the order that the majority leader stood on to make the prayer that the decision of Friday the 26th, I presume, the decision of Friday the 26th was in contravention with Article 1041 of the National Constitution, and therefore ought to be declared a nullity. And Paul, as you know, just as I do, voidable orders and orders which are vitiated are totally different. A void order simply means it never even took place, it never even existed. And in the course of our discussion, I'll demonstrate to you decisions of the House of Commons and several other parliaments where it had been determined that the decision never even took place because the decisions were void ab initio. In other words, they were a nullity. And so the majority leader did not ask for a rescission. He asked for a declaration that the decision taken on 26th November 2021 on Friday was null and void. It was void ab initio.
So that it never happened?
It never happened.
Expunged from the records of Parliament?
Expunged from the records of Parliament. That's what he did, which was approved. Now, what is the quarrel, is your question. And I've already tried to preface my submission by saying that the need for consensus and for joy and the rest is important. Moving forward, there's no two ways about that. We need each other to be able to keep the state of ship floating and working and so on and so forth. But the question about what took place on Friday, Paul, my view is that it is either legally tenable or it is not tenable. And I think I will appeal to my colleagues from the other side and to all of us pundits and commentators to try and engage in this discussion in a very dispassionate manner, in a manner which serve the democracy of our country. So if what happened was lawful, it is lawful. If it is unlawful, it is unlawful.
You mean there's no gray area?
There should be no gray area.
Is either black or white?
It's either black and white.
And how do we determine that?
And the precedents that we set today will leave to hunt the 9th Parliament, the 10th Parliament, the 11th Parliament. So we cannot be engaged in subjective argument. First of all, I know a lot of people have Article 104 has been overwhipped, but for purposes of your viewers who may not have had the benefit of that article, permit me to just quote that article to begin my submission. That article says, Article 104.1, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the vote of the majority of members present and voting. I want to repeat that. Determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting. So first of all, the majority of members must be present and voting, with at least half of all the members of Parliament present. So the very simple interpretation of this provision of the Constitution, which is really not complex, I mean it's black and white, means that first of all, you must have half of the members of Parliament present. Half.
So if you have 200, 100.
100.
You have 150.
275, 138. You must half of the members of Parliament present. He says with at least half of all the members of Parliament present. And then he says, determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting. So, assuming you have a Parliament of 200 members, you need half of the members of all the members of Parliament present. That is 101. Okay? And then it says you need more than half of the members present and voting. So half of that. That's really what it is. So I'm not too sure that there is any debate about this. And Paul,